India achieved independence in 1947.
For over 70 years, India and Pakistan had been locked in a tough relationship. And the war started with the how they were born. Think of it like a really messy divorce. When the British left India in August 1947, they decided to split the land, create a new country, Pakistan, for the many Muslims living there. This split, called the Partition, wasn't came or easy. It's caused so much pain and set the stage for rival. That's still a big deal today. At first, everyone hoped India and Pakistan could be friends, but that didn't last but long. The way the split happened, with so many people suddenly on the wrong side of the border, and the fight over who owned the land, especially a place called Jammu and Kashmir, caused major problems. This one piece of land has been the reason for so many wars and a fight between them. It shows how something that happened so long ago can still cause big issues now. To really get why India and Pakistan have such a complicated relationship, you have to took a way back before they were even countries. Then the British rule India, they kind of kept things separate. And in the northwest, which is now Pakistan, more people followed Islam and had different traditions. Even their writing looks different, more like Persian. In the 1840s, the British took control of areas like Sindh, Kashmir, and Punjab. Places right now on the border that so times today. Unlike the parts of India that were taken over through arguments, these areas were often conquered by force. Fast forward to the early 1900s, and you see a movement called the Pakistan movement starting to gain steam. People wanted a separate country for Muslims in the northwest and the northeast of India. They felt like they needed their own place to be safe and have a say, worried that in the country where most of the people were Hindus, that might get left out. You could say the biggest way of ruling, maybe without even meaning to, made these differences feel bigger and led to the ideals picking up. Many Muslims were scared they wouldn't be treated fairly. They migrated India and believed their own country was the only way of really thrive. When independence finally came in 1947, it brought with a terrible spirit of British India. This wasn't just drawing lines on the map. It was tearing apart lives and causing one of the biggest movements of people ever. At first, nobody thought people would have to leave their homes. The idea was that everyone, no matter what their religion, would just stay where they were. But things got really bad, really fast. In Punjab, there are Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims all lived close together. The violence was so intense, they actually planned to move people. But this didn't happen in other business. The provinces of Punjab and Bengal were cut in half, leaving many Hindus and Sikhs on the Pakistan side and many Muslims on the India side. Fear took all a neighbor down on each other. Some historians even said what happened in Punjab was like a genocide. Think about it, around 20 million people in Punjab alone had to leave their homes. About 6.5 million Muslims went west into Pakistan, and 4.7 million Hindus and Sikhs went east into India. Because the whole subcontinent, maybe 500,000 to 2 million people died. This massive tragedy left deep wounds and created a lot of anger and disturbed that would last for years. This split happened so quickly and nobody was really prepared. So things just fell apart. Even today, The memory of the awful time shapes how people in the both countries see each other. And for women, it was especially wicked, with terrible stories of violence and abuse. When the British left, the idea of the rulers of all these smaller kingdoms, a choice during India or Pakistan. Most Muslims in the majority of places choose Pakistan, and most Hindus choose India. But a few, like Junta and Jammu and Kashmir, make things complicated. Junta, even though the most people there were Hindus, it's Muslim ruler who wanted to join Pakistan. India ended up taking it over after all. But the real headache was for Kashmir. Most people there were Muslims, but the ruler, Maharaj Hai Singh, was Hindu. He didn't want to join either country at first, but in October 1947, things got crazy. The tribesmen from Pakistan, with the support of the Pakistani government, invaded Kashmir. The Maharaj was in trouble and asked India for him. India said they would help, but only if he signed a paper saying Kashmir was now a part of India. India says this meant Kashmir legally theirs. Pakistan disagreed, says that because most people in Kashmir were Muslims, that should be part of Pakistan. These two totally different views on what happened with Kashmir are still a huge problem. India points to the Maharaj's signature, where Pakistan talked about what the people wanted. The war that followed in 1947 and 1948 ended with the United Nations stepping in and drawing a line, called the Line of Control, better known as LOC. After the First War, the 1950s and the early 1960s, there were a bit quieter between India and Pakistan, but the Kashmir issue was still there, like a pot about to boil over. They had set up embassies and tried to talk, but because they couldn't agree on Kashmir, there was never any real peace. They tried to have talks and make things better, but they just couldn't get past the big disagreements, especially about Kashmir. So it was more like a break from a fighting than actual fighting. Just because there weren't any major wars didn't mean things were normal. They were still stuck in their position in Kashmir, among other problems. The quiet didn't last. In 1965, India and Pakistan went to war again. Before this, there had been smaller fights in a place called Ran of Kutch, but the big trigger was something Pakistan called the Operation Gibraltar. They tried to sneak soldiers into Jammu and Kashmir to start a rebellion against India. And India's response was to launch a full-on attack across the border into West Pakistan. There was a lot of Indians fighting on both sides, including the biggest tank battle since World War II. Even though many soldiers died on the both sides, the war ended in a tie. The United Nations stepped and called the ceasefire after other countries like the Soviet Union and the United States got involved. They signed something called the Tashkent Declaration to try and get things back to normal. But the Kashmir problem was still there. The 1965 war, even though nobody really won, just made the Kashmir issue even more stuck and showed the both sides were willing to fight big wars. Oh wait, which made their relationship really unstable. Then came 1971, and another big war between India and Pakistan. This time, it wasn't directly about Kashmir, but about something happened in East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh.
What was then East Pakistan and now is Bangladesh. Peter Grant reports.
The people in East Pakistan felt like they were being treated unfairly by the government in West Pakistan. But the Pakistan army started cracking down on people in East Pakistan in March 1971. Millions of people fled to India. This caused a huge problem in India, taking up to block of resources. India had already been helping the people in East Pakistan who wanted independence. Then on December 3rd, 1971, Pakistan attacked India, their bases. India saw this as a declaration of war and jumped fully into the fight to help East Pakistan to become independent. The war only lasted about 2 weeks, and India and the people of East Pakistan won. East Pakistan became the new country of Bangladesh. Around 93,000 Pakistan soldiers surrendered the Indian army. There was also some fighting on the west border with the West Pakistan and in Kashmir. But the main thing that happened in 1971 was the creation of Bangladesh. This was a really important moment that changed the map of South Asia. It showed that India was the major power in the region and weakened Pakistan quite a bit. It also shows that Pakistan had some internal problem with keeping its different parts united. Things got even more serious when both India and Pakistan developed nuclear weapons. India tested its first nuclear bomb in 1974. This made Pakistan feel like they need to catch up, and they conducted their first nuclear test in May 1998. Right after India did some modest. Having nuclear weapons was supposed to stop them from fighting in big wars. But it also made any future fights very more dangerous. India said they would use nuclear weapon first, but Pakistan didn't say the same day, saying they might use smaller nuclear weapons if India attacked them with their big army. Even though they have been enemies for so long, both countries have agreed not to attack each other's nuclear sites, and they even share a list of things these sites every year. Both India and Pakistan will be at nuclear programs because they didn't cross each other and wanted to be equally sure. Pakistan also got a lot of help from China with their program. In the summer of 1999, the fragile peace broke again with the Kargil conflict. This happened because Pakistan soldiers and militants crossed the line of control and took over some higher areas in the Kargil region. India launched a big military and diplomatic effort called Operation Vijay to push them there. The fighting in the tough mountain terrain of Kargil was really intense, and many soldiers died on both sides. This conflict made the tension between the two nuclear countries even worse, and people worried about the bigger war. In the end, after long fighting and pressure from other countries, Pakistan withdrew its forces from the India side of the LOC. The Kargil War showed that even with nuclear weapons, there was still a chance for military fights. And it also showed that the group not controlled by the government could make things really dangerous. As the 21st century began, the terrorism that crossed the border became a major part of the country between India and Pakistan. To deal with ongoing problem of terrorism from across the border, India started to change its approach and become more forceful. After big terrorist attacks, India first tried to use diplomacy and get other countries to pressure Pakistan to stop the military groups operating from their land. But after attacks like Ramin Uri in 2016, where Indian Army base was hit, India started taking more direct military actions. They conduct what they call surgical strikes across the line of control, targeting places where they thought terrorists were hiding and planning attacks. This was a big change for India, showing that they were more willing to use their military to respond to what they saw as threats. the 2019 Pulwama attack, where many Indian soldiers were killed, led to even more action, with India launching airstrikes deep inside Pakistan in Barkot. This action showed that India was taking a stronger stance against terrorism, coming from across the border, going beyond just defending themselves. Even with all the tension and occasional military action, India and Pakistan still carried talk. Sometimes there is this period, but these attempts often fail after major terrorist attacks or other big problems. In April 2025, something really bad happened near Palhama in India, the controlled Kashmir. An attack on tourists left 20 people dead, mostly Hindu visitors. This was the deadliest attack on civilians in India since the Mumbai bombing in 2008. India quickly blamed Pakistan for supporting the militants, pointing to a group called the Kashmir Resistance Front, better known as TRF, which India says is a cover for a Pakistan-based group called Lashkar-e-Taiba. The attackers reportedly asked the tourists their religion and then shot the Hindu and one Christian man, showing a clearly religious motive. A local Muslim who tried to help was also killed. Pakistan strongly denied any involvement and asked for an independent investigation. Targeting civilians, especially tourists, in Palhama seemed like a new tactic, possible to scare people and hurt the tourism industry in Kashmir, and to provoke a strong reaction from India. Palhama attack led to a quick and severe response from both sides, both military and diplomatically. India launched missile strikes called Operation Sindhu, especially targeting what they said were terrorist bases in Pakistan. Pakistan condemned these strikes as an act of war and promised to retaliate. Right after Palhama attack, India took a strong diplomatic steps, including posted the Indus Water Treaty, putting restriction on visas and diplomats for Pakistan. Pakistan responded by suspending the Shima Agreement, losing its airbases to Indian planes, and stopping all trade with India. Both countries expelled each other's diplomats and citizens and closed their shared border. There were also reports of heavy firing along the line of control, causing more deaths on both sides. The rest of the world was very worried about this. With the United Nations and countries like the United States and China urging both sides to calm down and avoiding making things getting worse, this quick and strong reaction from both India and Pakistan showed that tensions were really high and the risk of bigger conflict was greater than it had been in a while. So what is your thoughts on this conflict? Share your thoughts on the comment section. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe to our channel. See you again.